Last year on Power Reviews.
And what better way to start off the new year than with some New Year's resolutions? First up, I'd like to find a publisher. Next is make some new friends. Preferably ones whose existence is directly verifiable. Maybe get to know the neighbors better. Or maybe I'll get some new neighbors. Next up is getting some cardio. Maybe do a little running. That probably won't be until the summer, though. Number 4 is, be somebody's hero.
It's the end of the world. 5.
It's morphin' time.
4. 3.
Loading Power Rangers database to Phantom Ranger.
1.
Farewell, Ranger fans. And let the power protect you.
And now, Database Rangers Power Reviews.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Analytical Fanboys. I am, of course, a host boy named Simeon the Vacuuminator Scott, and I am joined, as always, by the incalculable Chris Boingo Rider Gaston.
I am very calculable. I have 10 fingers and 10 toes, I think.
Well then, that... I don't even know what to say anymore. You ruined my shtick. It's all over. It's terrible. Hey. Let's not be depressed. Let's be happy, because we're going back to a thing we've done before on this show. It's Database Rangers Power Reviews Year 2, everybody. That's the appropriate response.
I'm sure he would approve.
Yes.
Why am I talking about him as if he might be dead?
I know for a fact that Jake and Marissa are listen to these, so I can't.
Why would you put them through this pain?
I don't send them to them. They've just found them. Because I imagine there's not a lot of reviews for this review show out there. Anyways, Chris, this is your first time watching this stuff. What did you think of it?
The best way to... I'm trying to figure out the... Well, how can I fucking word this? I'm trying to organize the Mad Lib in my brain.
Yeah, because first time you were like, oh yeah, this is pretty solid. Last time when we were talking about year 1, you were like, well, it's okay, but the end reveal wasn't what I wanted. So
It was the better way to put it was that I had theorized myself into... I worked myself into a shoot. Once you take a step back and you go like, I worked myself into a shoot, you go, okay, back on the work. Yeah. It's that kind of mindset. Okay. This was a marked improvement in several ways, and I really enjoyed it. I just want to put several pins into several ways because I found that several of them very interesting.
Yeah, I feel like this is the season where the show really hits its stride. Like season 1, we're kind of figuring it out. We're getting everybody comfy in the whole Tig with Tig review style format. Season 2, we go, hey, here's a story, and we're going to start popping off a little. This season, it's like, okay, cards on the table, this is what we're doing, and we're going to do some cool shit while we're doing it. Would you agree?
Yeah. But all there's right. Like several little things, but you're the preeminent database on Database Ranger reviews.
Yeah, I realized something a little while ago, like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago when we were recording something. I told you this, and I think this is the first time I mentioned it on any kind of recording. I realized I'm kind of like the Digibro to you and Jake's Endless Jest, where you guys make really good shit that doesn't get enough attention, and I've seen all of it, and I love all of it, and I'm constantly screaming to my slightly bigger audience, watch this!
It doesn't help when I don't put shit out for several months, and he takes a long time to make his shit.
Yeah, like, I was gonna wait until we talked about the finale, but I guess I'll go ahead and say this. One thing that's kind of hilarious about how much work goes into these and how it's such a one-man band production, there were so many effect shots and so many actors required for the finale of this season that it took them an entire year to get it out.
Yeah, because they're also all working day jobs and they have to schedule around shit.
Mm-hmm. And some of these people have families, and one of these people is a child. So, it's a lot of stuff.
But I'm the horse. Lead me to water. What do you want to talk about?
I think we can just kind of run down a few things real quick. What did you think of the way this season sort of opened, where we take a step back and do what I believe was called like the summer or winter? It was some season trilogy of 3 episodes where Database is trapped in an alternate. He's trapped in a purgatory of his own making. What did you think of that?
The first thing I want to mention, because he talked about Young in that little sequence, was that it immediately reminded me of Persona, mainly because Persona is my only major what's the word? Observation, connection to Young, because that's a major motif in Persona 3 onwards. No, Persona 4 more so, but it's always been kind of there in Persona, of the self, the shadow, and the collective unconscious, which plays into the morphing grid if you go with my theory on how the morphing grid works.
Hey!
But if you don't know what I'm talking about, Vac, put a fucking link to the video in the description.
Yeah, I forgot about that video. That was a really solid little ramble you did there.
But that was interesting. I found he cloned himself really good.
Mm-hmm. He's very good at giving everything space. He very rarely like puts 2 characters who are the same person shoulder to shoulder. He's always like get like a couple feet in between, so it doesn't. There's no way we can jack that.
There was one sequence, like in the last couple episodes that he did, he framed the camera in a unique enough way, mainly because he wanted characters to do a certain thing, and he went like, shit, now I gotta fucking frame that. Probably. I don't know. I can't speak for him.
Yeah, there's a is it the shot where it's all the soup agents like getting their guns and firing at the demons, or is it
No. That was a lot better. That was fine because he was able to cut it in a pretty seamless way. It was when the more Potsners are breaking down the door, Agent Dude falls down, and then Kay and Mayo are like holding, like trying to brace him back up from the ground for being hurt.
Yeah.
And you have 2 completely different shots, one of Mayo holding one shoulder, one of Kay holding one shoulder, and it's less like because that's you're
not
watching
even compositing, that's just clever camera work.
Yeah, but it was just like it was interesting to just make it a camera shot and not just have one of them hold the shoulder and have the other just in the frame.
Yeah, compositing work is really great in this season, especially in those earlier episodes where he's playing off of older stuff he's done, but he's done it in this very like creepily redone way with all the various versions of himself, because we're supposed to be inside his psyche, and all the like quick cutting he does to like show what is quote unquote actually happening, where we're seeing like the sad pathetic version of him. That was really impressive. I thought it just like subtly freaking the audience out.
Yeah. That's like a classic like solar technique. I'm trying to, god damn it, motherfucker, why is my brain today of all days just forgetting all this shit? Like there was a Russian dude, and he experimented with montage and figured all that shit out, and it's like, fuck yeah.
All right.
He's the guy who threw a stroller down some stairs.
Okay.
If you know fucking... That's such a bad joke. Like, basically, he was trying to film an invasion of a army into a town.
Uh-huh.
And in order to signify, like, the damage and that kind of thing, he had a baby stroller just start going down the stairs to kind of signify, like, oh, shit's gone down because people aren't being able to take care of shit.
Hmm.
And it was like, oh, the mother's dead. Okay.
Ah.
Just like an impactful kind of thing.
So
It was,
I also feel like a lot of the acting got really turned up a notch this season, especially with I feel like Marissa's performance is probably at its best during this period. Like that episode where she goes to the train station and you don't realize that she's in the RPM dimension until she gets sent back, and she just breaks down crying because she just wants to see Ziggy. That fucking rips you apart, man.
yeah, good, solid.
Mm-hmm. And
I also
dynamic... Oh, go ahead.
I also like how they let the cheese happen more. They were going like, yeah, we're going to tell a story, but this is a goofy ass story that is extremely silly, and they even lampshade it. I don't know. To me, it felt like a little bit of a lampshade when he's skulking around the facility, and you see one guard turn to the other and go like, "So I have a new idea for a fan fiction."
Yeah. That's great.
It just felt like a little lampshade, like, yes, we know what we're doing, but we're having fun with it anyway.
I also really like what they did with Guy in this season, where he became a bit of comedic relief, but he still very much got his hard-ass persona going on. Like, he's still all the way through the series just pissed off that Database kicked him in the face that one time. And he's making pizza with bananas on it for people, and he's like, just trust me, it's good.
That's like a thing in like Sweden.
Is it? I had no idea.
Yeah.
And the thing where and then like the bit that keeps it from getting too silly, where he gets to stay somewhat more of a badass, is he goes back to the PR dimension and visits Jungle Karma of all pizza of all places, and then becomes a karate master off screen.
I thought that was supposed to be kung fu that they kind of used.
You know what? It probably was. It's just
it's generic mystic martial arts.
Exactly.
It's like what Danny Rand uses.
Yeah.
It's like what Danny Rand and Daredevil and Batman, they all use that.
They use punch fu with occasional kick kwando.
And that one move that looks like it's from judo. Or maybe it's from Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Who knows? No one really pays attention to this.
Mm-hmm. So let's just jump into some late season stuff. What did you think of the more Potsners are evil reveal?
Well, I mean, the whole time they've been Stepford wived.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense.
I really didn't see it coming the first time through, and I just kind of thought of them as the goofy comic relief. Like, I know what Stepford Wives is, but I'd never actually seen the thing it's from, so I didn't understand the exact creepy connotations of that. So when they turned evil, I was just like, holy shit, and then had to wait a year for the next episode.
There's a lot of cool things. And I like how they ramped up the kind of ham when they revealed that fact.
Yeah, because then they're just immediately like being the most delightfully happy villains ever to people. And just whenever somebody calls them, they're just like, hi!
Like, they took the cheese and they took the ham and they made a nice sandwich.
They sure did. I also really enjoyed DB as Vengex. Like, I think that's one of the better interpretations of ho, Venjix survived. What should they do if he ever comes back?
Yeah, I also like how he kind of worked it so he could still do the reviews without having to change completely how he does the overdubbing.
Yeah, it comes at the perfect point in the season too. Like when there's more bad shit going. I mean, it's Megaforce, so bad shit going down is in giant air quotes. So it's like it's easier for him to be like, well, I'm doing this as an object lesson. I'm telling these other soup agents, like, here's how this villain fought, he won, and then he got his ass handed to him. Let's not do that. Proceeds to do that.
Tiny doo-doo. Tiny doo-doo went down. But I also like how he wrote that in. It's like, his personality cortex is overriding mine a little bit, or how he phrased it. So he still had that obsessive compulsive disorder to just talk about Power Rangers whenever episode appeared in his head.
Yeah, I think the thing exactly was like, Database is in here with me, but I'm subject to the host personality.
Yeah. Which is a good way of, because the reason Venjix in the original RPM was so cool, threatening, and imposing was that he was just, no, I'm logic. I am computer.
Yeah, he was literally just a computer program.
So this allowed him to bring Venjix with some of that attitude. It's like, this is inevitable. You are being dumb and irrational, but have that little bit of a personality behind it, so it's not just immediately you get boring Terminator.
Mm-hmm. So, how'd you feel about all the stuff that went down with Mayo in this season? Because I know we've very much discussed that early on. It really feels like she's just there to have a role that's for Marissa and is more like what Marissa's actually like. But here she actually kind of gets to develop and do some stuff. Like, there's a whole thing of like, well, you're a super cool secret agent, you're a super scientist, you're a freaking Power Ranger, what am I? And she gets
I really liked how she got the magic powers also to contrast with the alternate world, Dr. K.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, I just realized the joke.
Say it.
Dr. Ketchup.
That's what took you so long to get?
I didn't pay attention.
They literally said it at one point that when they're explaining things to the more Potsners, and he's like, well, I can't just say her name's Kay. This is my friend K-Chop.
No, but like in real out, because mayo, it's a condiment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Lordy. Lordy.
I also, oh god, what was I gonna say? I just completely lost it because of that discussion.
But no, I thought it's cool that now they have their kind of bases gathered. They have morphing grid tech, they have super spy tech, they got tech, and now they have magic tech.
Yeah, let's all the tech in here. And
get the Tekken, get the Tekken tournament, get the guy with the leopard head, do some German suplexes.
Yes. I also just really enjoyed that whole arc of like everybody's scattered around having to do stuff. Reminded me a lot of Transformers Prime Season 2, I believe it is, where they're doing a lot of MacGuffin of the Week stuff, and then they did that sequence of episodes that all takes place at the same time, but everybody's off on their own mission looking for a different MacGuffin.
Know what it is? It's a really well done excuse for a training montage arc.
Yeah,
because you know how in like certain best comparisons anime, you have like the training arc where they just go, we need to get more powerful. That's what that was, except for K and Database. They just went to our reality and played around with it.
Database got more powerful. He went and like refreshed his Power Rangers knowledge.
Yes, that was the context for that episode.
Yeah. It's not at all that they were going to Power Morphicon and happened to get a panel, so they were like, we have to film it.
But you got a dude going like, all right, I got more martial arts, and now she's a wizard, Harry.
Yes, exactly.
I found that kind of cool. Also, quick note: production design, the location scouting, much better. And that, like, all that kind of just played in is like something I noticed this go around, this span of episodes was. I remember last time I said it felt like they wanted to do something with a budget of 1,000, but they had a budget of 100.
Mm-hmm.
They were trying to do more than what they were capable of. This time, they knew exactly what they could do and how to do it the most efficiently and the most effectively, and it was much better in my opinion in terms of just like scale, scope, and how they executed it.
Yeah, and that's a big part of why I like this show, is it's just guerrilla filmmaking at its finest. It's like, we know what we want to do, we know what we have to do that in, let's figure out the best way to do it. Like, there's only really a handful of locations in this show. I mean, they make some of them look like multiple places, but it's like they have an apartment complex, they have someone's home, and they have Jake's old college, which has a bunch of empty rooms they can film.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is more of like just in terms of like, God damn it, why can't I formulate sentences right now? Jesus Christ. Maybe it's because I only slept like 5 hours. I don't know. That may have something to do with it.
Well, I mean,
but like, and that's great. Like, but that's what I'm saying is like they knew exactly how to do what they want, and they also didn't try to go bigger than what they knew they could get away with. Like they didn't, like, besides the last 2 episodes, they didn't try to have 1,001 mind-blowing fight scenes. They were like, no, this is how we can make short, simple, quick, efficient fight scenes without having to do anything.
yeah, there's not a whole lot of like complex martial arts, except for maybe the one part where they homage Green with Evil, which was really cool. And it felt really cool because A, it's recreating an actually well-known iconic fight sequence from Power Rangers, and B, it's the one really complex fight in the entire season, so it stands out. This is also, like, this show came out around the same time there was a real boom in Power Rangers fan films that went on pretty much from this point up until the 2017 movie came out. And I've always said this, like, as many fan films as there are now, I still think Power Reviews is the best because it's so much, we understand we don't have a big budget, we're trying to do something within our budget, and also we're just trying to tell our own story that takes place within the PR multiverse. There's not a whole lot of explaining extraneous backstory from the show that was never gotten into. There's a little stuff like that, but it's not like a huge, this is how Zordon met every single and set up every single thing that he ever had in the Zordon era. It's not one of those, you know.
No, and if he does something like that, it seems more like a reference than a, hey, I'm trying to answer a question.
Yeah, too many fan films, I feel, try to go for, we're doing this thing where it's tons of big effects and we're acting like we're a primetime network drama instead of a kitschy kids show, and we're going to explain the backstory that we've had envisioned since we were AIDS and blah 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 blah, blah. And it's like, no, you don't need that. You don't need that. Take it, throw it out. Don't need it. What you do, if you want to make a good Power Rangers fan film, And
first, you get some cardboard.
Yeah, and if you want to make a good Power Rangers fan film and you don't have the time and budget and dedication to do a power reviews, here's what you do. You get your camcorder, you get a tripod, you get your legacy prop and your Anarchy cosplay and a friend in a putty costume, and you go out to the nicest, most scenic-y, nice by-the-water city park you can find, and you film yourself pretend fighting your friend in the putty costume. Because that is what I think of when I think of like MMPR or Power Rangers. It's just basic fights in the park. That's if you want to make something that's like, I like Power Rangers, I want to make a thing that looks like Power Rangers to show how much I love Power Rangers. Just make that. You don't need all this extra hullabaloo that looks like you're a film student who's just trying way too hard to get noticed.
Yeah.
And that was a diatribe I've been waiting all week to get off my chest.
All 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Flipping, what was I going to say next? So how do you feel about, because we've mainly been talking about the story, how do you feel about the actual reviews that went on this season?
I like how he didn't let his frustration, if he had much frustration with Megaforce and Super Megaforce, kind of peek through. He was being very much more of like, no, I'm going to praise it when it does something I feel like is adequate.
Mm-hmm. It feels very much like there's enough bitching about this show out there. I don't need more of it in my web show. Like, he even makes a joke out of it a couple of times. Like, there's that one episode where they're trying to get Vengex out of him, and then there's a bunch of legendary modes in a scene while he's reviewing. And like, instead of them needing to distract him for a moment, he just walks off camera ranting about Sentai suits.
Yeah. Like, and he tries to make sure he never complains about just like, oh, the character's boring. It's like, no, that can be subjective. That can be, oh no, someone can find him interesting. He more pointed out structural problems with the scripting and character motivation and things like that. He was trying to.
He does. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I don't remember what the rest of the thought is. Go.
Okay. Whenever he does actually get into a big negative point, he actually has something like fairly well thought out and interesting to say. It's not just, well, Jake and Gia suck because feminism. It's Jake and Gia suck because this is a season that's supposed to be celebrating the history of the franchise. And if we look at the history of the franchise, Power Rangers has generally been good at not having this kind of shit in it, except for one time, maybe kind of, sort of. Which is something I tried to bring to the table as well when I did Megaforce Sucks. Like, that was basically my whole video about Jake and Gia was, like, let's look at some past relationships and some past characters and see how well Power Rangers has done not doing this in the past. Like, my whole thing is like, fucking, what's his face, who I can't remember the name of, the Red Ranger from Dino Thunder. He had a whole character arc about learning not to be a sexist pig.
Yeah. God damn it. Motherfucker, now I can't remember what I was just about to say. Shit. My brain is just full ADHD tonight. Jesus Christ. No, he even when he does say something directly negative about an episode, he will often bring up another episode within Megaforce and Super Megaforce that got that thing better.
Yeah.
Like, he goes like, no, this crew, this cast, and they were able to do this better. Here it is. I don't know what happened in this episode, kind of thing.
Yeah. Like when he's talking about all the legendary Rangers that came back from the finale, and he's like, where the fuck is Jason Smith? You had him in an earlier episode. He's one of the writers. Why couldn't he come on set today?
Yeah. That was a weird thing. Especially because they got a lot more of the, like, maybe it was because it was a Disney Ranger? They only really got OG Saban era people, except the two samurai guys.
You know, I always forget about that with the Legendary Battle until somebody brings it up. because they got so many different people back that it feels like they hit all the right spots.
Yeah, they didn't get any of the Disney era people.
Yeah.
And Jungle Fury is Disney era.
It is. It's a late Disney era, but it is Disney era nonetheless.
Yeah.
Anything to say about the classic reviews that happened this season?
I don't remember any specific episodes. I think he picked them well. Yeah,
he always picks them well. He tries to pick something that's like a really good emblematic episode for that season. Like, he did Fishing for a Friend from Wild Force and Tiger's Fall and Lion's Rise from Jungle Fury.
It feels like he picks. He feels like he picks those episodes like James Gunn picks music for Guardians. It's like he finds the episode he wants to review and then kind of writes around it.
Yeah. It's not, this scene needs a song. Where is X popular song that we can afford?
Yeah, because James Gunn has the playlist in his hand and he writes with the song in mind.
Yeah.
And that kind of feels like what this is. He goes like, I want something like this to happen. Is there any Power Ranger episodes that can kind of fit this tone? And he goes like, oh, here's one where they go back in time and they have to redo things. That can make a really creepy atmosphere that I want to get across. Let's do that.
Mm-hmm. Or like Island of Illusion, I thought was a great review, not just because it's the story is a really good introduction to the season, but the way he talks about that episode and a lot of the things he pointed out, like, totally turned me around on it. Back when this review first came out, I hated that episode. I thought it was a total half-assed piece of crap. But the way he explains stuff like, well, Tommy being surrounded by putties as his fear is a representation of he doesn't want to be surrounded by his enemies. And when I had first seen that episode, I was like, oh, fucking Saban just being cheap, can't actually afford to do anything cool, so we're just making Tommy as afraid of putties, which makes no goddamn sense because he fights putties every week. And then Jake comes in with that explanation, and I'm like, oh shit, you're right. This is one of the best episodes of MMPR.
Opinions, they change.
Yeah.
This isn't really a complaint. It's just more of like a fun thing that I find funny about the whole thing. Is whenever they're in a car, they never move.
Yeah, I think they explained that in one episode last season where it's like the more Podsners just painted all the windows on their car.
Yeah, but it's just like, there was one time where they blurred the window to try and make it look like things were rushing by.
Yeah, I think he did that the first time, and then he gave up and put that explanation of painted windows in because it's like, I'm not going to try and film while somebody is driving. That's dangerous.
Yeah, no. Movie people have like $1 million rigs to do that.
Mm-hmm. And they also like pay to have a road closed off for an afternoon.
Oh yeah. Have you seen those goddamn rigs? They're fucking awesome.
I know. Like, random childhood memory. I remember when the DVD for the first Transformers live action movie came out, I bought the one that was 2 discs and had like 2 hours of bonus features on it. And there's like one 5 or 10 minute bonus feature on that that's just dedicated to how Michael Bay films car chases. And he talks about how he has his like own custom rig called like the Danny or something like that. And there's like all these shots of it zooming around and then stuff exploding right behind it. And I remember as a little kid, well, not a little kid, like 10, 11 years old, going like, that's what I want to drive when I get my license.
Of course.
Yeah. But getting back to this, Flippin', how did you feel about the big reveal at the end of this season of not only the directors of Alphabet Soup being the people who abducted Kay, but that Kay is the one who kind of caused everything to happen by going back in time and trying to stop herself from being abducted?
Well, Dr. K is going to Dr. K. Tends to be the character arc.
Yeah.
Whoops! I made a science oopsie.
That's kind of it. Yeah.
At first I thought those might have been her parents because the way it's like you haven't seen us in blank. But then they went, no, we kidnapped you. And it's like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I like how they opened the portal to hell.
Yeah, that was fun.
I fully expect to hear M1E1 when they fight them again.
Yeah. H as a possessed demonic soup agent was kind of great. He's the bald soup agent.
Yeah, you know what M1E1 is, right?
That's a satanic sounding band, I'm assuming.
No, it's the song from Doom. Sometimes people make it a trumpet and call it doot. No. Really quick tangent. When they made a 25th anniversary video for Doom, they put that in because that's an often running joke within the video game community. It's just like, no, Doot's hilarious. In fact, they even made a Doot skeleton to put into the new Doom game.
Fantastic.
I think he doots. I think he doots.
Well, if he didn't doot, I would be very disappointed.
But it especially with his big, bulky kind of Space Marine armor, it does kind of feel like Doomy.
Yeah, I always think of like the Phantom Ranger as being its own thing, but now that you mention it, it does kind of look like a precursor to shit like Doom Guy and the fucking Halo armors and all that.
Yeah, I mean, all that stuff is kind of stemmed from 30K. Warhammer 30K and like Judge Dredd.
Did Star Wars have any level of influence on it too? Because as a kid, I always thought of those as like, oh, they're more badass looking stormtrooper armor.
Stormtrooper, yeah, but stormtroopers are kind of like, they're the faceless mook. So stormtroopers are more of a precursor to the putties.
I see.
Space Marines are a weird avenue of sci-fi lineage, like fucking Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
Because and the originals, you know, the whole thing. Starship Troopers the movie is kind of a farce and making fun of people who go like, only people should only vote if they served in the army. That's the only way. Government and states, fascism. The movie's about fascism and how stupid they are and silly.
Yeah, it's a big fascism parody.
In the original book, that was all completely serious.
Like the author was being serious, or like that's what this universe is serious?
No, the author believed that shit.
Well, fuck that guy.
Yeah, but a lot of Spacey Marine kind of stuff can be stemmed from that book and stuff similar to it from the 50s and 60s era of hard sci-fi. Yeah.
Interesting.
That was a weird tangent.
It was, but you know, that's what this show is for.
That's what the second half of the show is for.
Indeed. So, with that being said, is there anything else you want to cover with this season? Because I feel like I'm starting to reach for topics already.
They got good length. They were good.
Yeah, it's about the length of a Power Rangers episode, actually, most of the time.
Yeah. He didn't try to overextend what he could do within the suit. I found that him being invisible and just punching people was a good workaround of actually having to do choreography, which would have taken more time and would have been probably harder to film with everybody's schedule.
I love that it looked about as good as the people getting punched while he's invisible looked in Turbo.
Yeah, and also I appreciate when the more Potsners are going full Sith Lord and they're lifting him up. He really looked like he was being lifted up, and that was like nice. He was getting hit by crown molding, and I was like,
I kind of like to imagine that Dave DiPaolo, who plays Guy, was just slightly underneath the camera in that shot, giving him a piggyback ride.
Yeah. I mean, and it didn't even look like he did the whole bend the knees and lift up trick. It is just like he like something like mechanical lifting him up. And I know it's probably not what happened, but it looked smooth like that.
Yeah, it looked pretty good.
So I appreciate that. One thing I will say, and you do mention that it got better because you got a real helmet. The helmet still kind of feels a little tacked on, and I think that's mostly just a compositing thing. Like he could have added some digital wear and tear to it to make it feel like it's more seated in the scene.
Like make it look like one of the Transformers Siege toys.
No, like it looks too bright when the scene around him is darker. And you just see the bright ass highlights, and the shadows are brighter than the shadows in the scene. It can kind of make it feel off.
That does make sense.
And it's just a matter of like, he may not have had the effects or whatever to do it, but like, they're layering some things on it could have just tapped that down a little bit, made it feel like it was more in the scene. But as you say, it gets better and he gets a real helmet. So
yeah, that also just recently, like within the last 3 episodes that have aired, happened. So it's not like right away in year 3. Yeah, year 3. It's not right away in year 3. It's like mid-year 3 that happens.
But like in brighter lit scenes, it's not as noticeable. It's only when it's in darker sets. And it wasn't anything that took me out of it. It was just like, oh man, it's kind of bright. Okay.
Yeah. Can we turn the lights down a little bit, fellas? It's my George Lucas impression.
It's poetry, you see?
It rhymes.
It rhymes. And here's the thing. People give him shit for that, but it makes sense for a movie series.
Yeah.
Like, that's a good mindset to do for writing a movie series. Like, yeah. It should have some thematic rhyming and everything.
Yeah, no, that's smart writing. It's just the way he said it and being associated with movies that at the time were considered to be terrible. It made for prime memeage.
Oh, yes. Like, but I appreciate the thought. I appreciate the new Star Wars trilogy is doing the whole poetry, it rhymes thing really well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God.
So I suppose the final question to ask with finishing up year 2 now is, are you, Mr. Chris Boingo Ryder Gaston, sir, who I have been forcing this review series upon, excited to finally get caught up and be watching in real time this show? Because year 3 has not finished up yet, and also year 3 is supposed to be the final season.
Well, I'm not going to binge it anymore, but I am going to do it playlist style. So nice. Watch if an episode pops up, I'll watch it, and then I'll just put the next episode into the playlist.
As you do.
As I do. And then shit.
Yeah, maybe
I'll shit and I'll die. That's what I'll do.
Okay then. I need a moment.
That wasn't that funny.
I was gearing up to say something a lot calmer though, so it made it funny to me.
Old dicks.
Indeed. But yeah, no, this is probably the best season of this show. I don't know, when it's all said and done, year 3 might just top it, but we'll wait and give the verdict on that when it's out, because when year 3 wraps up, I assume we'll do a podcast on that. And who knows, maybe we'll do like a big Power Reviews is over, let's get our good buddy Jacob Brody back on and interview him about making it. Maybe we'll do that. Who knows? Anything's possible.
I mean, if he's down.
Yeah.
ready to clown.
Well, I mean, clowning is basically all we do at this point. Speaking of clowning, you want to get on to some what we've been up to this week?
Yes.
So, Chris, what have you been listening to this week?
Listening to, I've just been going back into the catalog, listening to Mindless Self-Indulgence.
Hey, those are good boys, and we like them.
Yeah, MSI is great.
Mm-hmm.
And to some of Jimmy's solo stuff that he's recording right now, that because MSI is on hiatus.
Nice.
I've also been getting into Static X, which is like late 90s, early 2000s industrial kind of new metal-y kind of thing. Their original lead singer, who has sadly passed away, described their music as evil disco.
Nice.
Yeah, and because he tragically passed away recently, before the original band could really kind of come back together, the OG band members, the other 3 that were part of the original 4, basically said, you know what, we have a bunch of unreleased stuff. He would probably want us to have like one last hurrah. We're going to go on tour. We're going to get a new singer to kind of just take his place for kind of do it. And we're just going to do one tour. We're going to do this album. That's just kind of a thank you for being fans. This is to celebrate their first album. And it's just like, you know what? I can dig that.
Yeah.
Some people are definitely being cynical, like, oh, you're just doing this for money, even though all the other band members are in equally successful bands right now. So, like, I don't feel like they would need that money. So it definitely feels like they're being genuine with it. And some people are saying there's a creepy thing because the person that they have to replace the lead singer is wearing a stylized mask based off of the original lead singer because he had very distinct hair.
Well, I mean, like, if you're trying to do it as like evoking the spirit of that guy type thing, that sounds like a good way to do it.
Yeah, especially because
especially if you describe your band as evil disco.
Yeah, and the guitarist or bass player, I can't remember which one. Maybe guitarist or bass. It's one of those two. Basically made a statement of like, hey, he was our lead singer, but he was also kind of our mascot. Like, it's kind of just part of the identity, and if we didn't have that part of the identity there, it wouldn't feel as whole as it could be. So it feels very much like they're trying to honor him instead of like put up the corpse to make money.
Yeah.
So that's cool, and their sounds fun because I like thick, chunky, metal-y sound. Also just been listening to a bunch of ska and ska punk just because.
As you do.
Yep. Oh man, it's just fun. It's just good. But that's about it with music. I've been watching a lot more things than listening.
You talk about ska music so often. I've got to ask, how do you feel about fellow ska enthusiast who is a YouTube boy, Tom Ska?
He's cool. I don't watch all of his videos, but like I remember really loving Astif movies and a lot of his other skits. It's just it's like meeting an old friend you haven't seen in a while, and we're still pretty friendly, but it's just we're in different places. We're in different people right now. It's good to know that you're there, and if I come and visit, we'll be cool. We'll hang out for a bit, but we don't need to worry about being friends.
Yeah, there was a couple months in like 2015, 2016 when I was really into his channel, but since then I've kind of like barely paid attention to him.
Also like how he just reps ska. It's just nice.
Yeah. And he makes those Astif movies, which I think everybody can agree are bomb-ass videos.
Oh yeah.
But stuff I've been listening to, as discussed over the last couple weeks of this podcast, I've been rebuilding my music playlist because I'm back to using my normal account for everything on YouTube. And I finished it this week. I flippin' finished it. So I'm just gonna shoot through a bunch of stuff real fast. The Kuga OST and inserts. Fucking love Kamen Rider Kuga. Fantastic show. Equally fantastic music. Just really nice late 90s, early 2000s atmospheric, kind of experimental shit going on, and the inserts are just fire. The Wizard soundtrack, equally very good writer soundtrack, but it's more like the operatic kind of not church music, but like it's very choir-esque at time. It sounds like what they were going for with Wizard as a character, which is that he is a Byronic hero that has a very classic design and attitude towards him. So it's music very befitting of that tone. And also occasionally for the scenes where it's goofy, they have a couple of really goofy, we spent 5 minutes in GarageBand making these tracks. Yeah. The Kamen Rider Drive inserts. Drive is a show I have a very special place for in my heart. I know it's not the best all the time, but I really like all those characters, and I feel like they maybe not in the appropriate times, but they all got the amount of development they needed to become good. And the soundtrack, the inserts, everybody's character themes are just great. I mean, the Drive theme in and of itself is a banger. You've got stuff like Full Throttle, which is Mock's theme, Don't Lose Your Mind, which is both the theme to Mock Dead Heat and Chaser. Like that form and that character share that theme for some reason. And then Spinning Wheel, which I think rivals Time Judged All as like one of the greatest inserts in all of Kamen Rider. Like if you have not heard Spinning Wheel or seen the video for it, and you're a Rider fan, you owe it to yourself to look that shit up. And then getting away from Kamen Rider, I went back to real music for a bit. I say real music, parody. Weird Al, I went and put a bunch of Weird Al shit in the music playlist, as you do. Weird Al is a good boy, and we like him, and he has never not made good music. He's had a few not so great songs, but he has always had a lot of good tracks come out in general, and fucking there's always that one track on every album that just makes you go, oh, he did it again. He proved he's the greatest musician of all time again. Talking Heads, we did a whole podcast about them. We like them. They're good boys and girl who make good stuff. Masaki Endo, very prolific artist in Japan, big rock boy. He's one of the founding members of Jam Project. He's done a lot of Rider and Sentai music. I like him a lot. You probably heard at least one of his songs if you are into either tokusatsu or anime. He's a very good power ballad kind of a guy. The Tron Legacy soundtrack by Daft Punk. A lot of people seem to have either forgotten or kind of soured on Tron Legacy. I have a very special place in my heart for that film because I grew up around the time it came out, and I remember getting super hyped up to go and watch it on opening night. I drove my older sister drove me like an hour to an IMAX theater to see it, and freaking the next day is when I made my first YouTube account, and I listened to that soundtrack constantly during my early teens. Just loved the shit out of it. Really good.
Daft Punk's solid.
Yeah, it's like Daft Punk fans are going to hate me for this, but I genuinely think it's the best off Daft Punk album. It is just really good techno, electronic, dance beats with a few chill ones thrown in for variety, and it's good times. I love it.
I'm more of a fan of their earlier French house kind of stuff, just because it has just such a distinct flavor.
That's fair. I mean, like, there's definitely different eras of Daft Punk, and depending on who you are as a person, different things will match up with you. I'm kind of like, there's a couple singles I like from them, but primarily it's just the Tron Legacy soundtrack for me. There's not a whole lot of their other music that really gets me, but I appreciate why other people like them so much.
The other stuff just reminds me of anime so much, mainly because they made an anime film.
Uh-huh.
So... Around the world, around the world.
Okay.
This is good.
Queen, Journey, and Motorhead. 3 bands that are all fantastic. Everybody loves them. What new shit can I say about them? They are good boys who make good stuff. Miracle of Sound. Have you ever listened to this guy, Chris?
Nope.
I would recommend looking him up, not just because he does my theme song every time you look around, but because he's an incredibly good, like, kinda dad rocky musician that does songs based off of video games and movies. He's a YouTube boy who gets all his views for doing that, but also every once in a while he'll also just do a really good original, which is where Every Time You Look Around came from and how I found him and started listening to all his other shit. A lot of the music I threw in my playlist I'd already heard before, so I don't have a lot new to say, but I listened to the song he did for Breath of the Wild for the first time this go around, and my god, that is a fantastic song. Like, just really, really good at, like, slowly ramping up to a great payoff in the chorus and then taking you right back down and doing it again a couple times. Like, it's one of those. And let me tell you, it is a great song to listen to while you're out for your run. It is. Mwah. Neil Cicerega, we did a whole episode on him. We like that boy. He does good stuff. Eminem. Like, I keep saying I'm not a big rap guy, but the big rappers I am into, like, I like Eminem, I like Kendrick Lamar, I like Will Smith, I like fucking... Oh, I feel like a jackass for not remembering the name. The group that, the Straight Outta Compton boys, I like them.
NWA.
Yes, thank you.
The actual name we can't say because we are both white.
Indeed. But yeah, Eminem is a guy who I feel like he's very divisive. Either you like him or you don't for one reason or another. I really like him because I feel like he has incredible flow and he's so into the craft that you can't not be impressed, in my opinion. And like, a lot of the stuff he touches on does resonate with me in one way or another. Like, I don't hate my mom like he does, but I can get the sort of vitriolic anger he has towards her that he talks about in several songs.
The best way I can think of Eminem is when he's really good, he's fucking phenomenal, like Rap God.
Mm-hmm.
But when he's shit, he is the shittest.
How do you feel about the Venom song he did? Because that's a song that I know is kind of bad, but I love it anyway.
It's fine, but like, the Guess Who's Back song. Shit.
Yes. You don't like that song, really?
No, it's annoying.
Really? That's like a classic to me.
Yeah, no, it's just the references are outdated. It's just not. It just doesn't feel good. Especially because the whole hook is based on him making a Pee Wee Herman laugh. That's the hook. It's like, I don't want that as a hook.
See, I first experienced it completely out of context, so like that kind of shit doesn't bother me with it. I'm just like, this is a really good, fun time capsule brag track, I think.
No, but Rap God's good. And that may also just be partially because he fucking did some Max Headroom shit, and then that's kind of cool.
There's a whole subsection of people that love Eminem but hate Rap God. I found that out a few months ago, and I was just so baffled by it.
Rap's great. My favorite group is Run the Jewels.
Yeah, you've shown me some of their stuff. They're good.
I think I even have one of their albums on the list.
Ooh. Well, maybe we'll hit it tonight. But I also found a new band this week. As I said in your server, I think I might have stumbled into some J-rock I like. There's this band called Back On, who don't really have a relation to like any anime or toku tie-ins, and that's why I say like, because like Kamen Rider and toku in general has tons of J-rock artists associated with it, but I never listened to their non-Kamen Rider and Sentai shit, so I don't consider myself to be a J-rock guy. But Back On have done like one song for one anime ever, and other than that, they're mostly like a bunch of fairly attractive young adult guys who sing and rap about some kind of shit. I don't know. I don't speak Japanese, but it all has like very good backing tracks to it, and their flow sounds really good as a non-native language speaker. So I listened to a bunch. I just stumbled into them because Sentai 5 did his yearly tweet when, to date this episode, Kamen Rider 01 got announced today. And Sentai 5 did his yearly, like, get back on to do the intro tweet, because he's been doing that for like 4 or 5 years now since he discovered them. And I was like, no, he really likes this band. I've been following this guy on Twitter forever. I guess I'll check this band out finally. And holy balls did I dig some of their stuff. So that's all in my music playlist now, and I would recommend checking them out. They're not the best thing in the world, but they make some fun little jams.
I got a good number of Japanese bands I listen to.
Nice.
The Pillows, Trico, SMN, Maximum the Hormone are pretty good.
By the way, if you're going to search for them, make sure you type it in all caps with a dash between the two words. Like, that's how it's spelled, and it's kind of hard to get their videos to come up if you don't spell it that way.
Like Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the hyphen.
Exactly. And then I tried a couple new podcasts this week. First of all, the Monday American, which I found out about in the most unconventional way for a podcast, I find. A guy came into the store I work at, and he was wearing a shirt for it, and I just went, "Oh, hey, nice shirt, man. Is that your pod?" Because it was like a shirt that said the Monday American, a history podcast, and I was like, "Is that your podcast or just one you really like?" And he goes, "Oh, it's mine." And I started asking him, like, "Oh, what's it like? What's this? The other thing?" And he's like, and he described it as it's basically like back in the day before the History Channel got taken over by reality shows and aliens, when they would air documentaries all the time. It's a podcast that's meant to be like one of those. And I was like, oh, I actually really like that era of the History Channel. That I would sit in front of the TV all day and watch the History Channel back when that was a thing. I will check this podcast out. And he hands me a business card, which was really impressive. I've never seen anybody actually have business cards for their podcast before. I mean, as a YouTuber, I have business cards for my YouTube shit, but I've never seen somebody have one just for a podcast. So that was neat. And I'll go. And what's even more impressive is this guy actually has a dedicated website. This is not like us putting the podcast on YouTube. This is like a fucking big boy podcast. This guy has his own website and an iTunes and all that shit. So, guys, go to theMondayAmerican.com and give it a shot, because it's not like this show. It's much more relaxed and laid back. It's very much a radio voice kind of. And now we're going to be talking about. Kind of a thing, but he talks about
we sit away from the microphones and we yell because we're young and annoying.
Yeah. But he keeps things fairly fast paced. He's clipping through facts in a very interesting way. And like whenever he's talking about stuff like a famous speech or something, if there's a recording of the speech, he will just, instead of reading the speech off, he will like fade into the actual recording of the actual speech, because it's history. That shit's in the public domain. You can do that. It all comes off as very well read and researched. And like this guy like I can't. It feels like both a history class and also like a much more well put together type of thing. Like I said, like one of those History Channel documentaries. I've only listened to a couple of episodes. I think, how many episodes does he have in total? Oh, there aren't episode numbers, so I can't tell. I listened to the three-parter he did on the Korean War and the latest episode, which is on the Great Depression, and those were all very solid. I would, if you're into history at all on like a casual or maybe even a history buff type level, I would recommend giving it a listen. And then I also listened to Bunny Ears, Macaulay Culkin's podcast, simply because he had the Red Letter Media guys on, and I really wanted to know what those guys sounded like and stuff they weren't making. Because none of them have like social media or anything. You hardly ever see them outside of the videos. So I was like, what are these guys like when they're normal? And it's like, oh, it's just a slightly sloppier version of Half in the Bag. I do also clap on the back to Macaulay Culkin for just out of the gate being like, so Mike, you believe in ghosts? Let's talk about that shit.
Perfect.
Yeah, which then did dominate most of the podcast, but it was still just really funny listening to Macaulay Culkin and Jay and Rich just rip Mike for a change.
You may not like Modern Rogue, but he was on a couple episodes where they were like looking at blood spatter and like figuring out how to do that kind of stuff and analyze it. And they did a whole like skit at the end of two detectives searching a place for it. And every time Macaulay Culkin talked, he said, "If my name wasn't," and he changed his character's name, and it was the best thing ever.
That's great. But yeah, I haven't listened to any more Bunny Ears. I may check those episodes out. I know he did an episode with James Rolfe, so I may listen to that. I don't know if I'd listen to it regularly, just because I don't know how interesting Macaulay Culkin is on his own. But, I'll keep more of an eye on it now that I know it's a thing. It's not just...
Guys, Jeffrey just hit a rock with the pickaxe.
I accidentally pressed a button.
Okay.
That I did not mean to. I'm sorry.
Well, that's staying in. But yeah, Bunny Ears is good. Confirmed for good. Chris, what have you been watching this week?
Oh, boy. Are you ready for a list?
I just gave you a list. I'm ready for the list.
All right, first thing up. Gal Guy Gar, episode 4. Just more Gal Guy Gar. It's pretty dope. I think it's been a while because it's been 2 weeks. They kind of confirmed that, oh, you're just a normal little boy. Oh, okay. And that kind of stuff, and they're just kind of setting up more things. Yeah, that's kind of it for Gal Guy Gar. It's an episodic show, and there's 50 of them. It's not every episode's gonna be a winner.
Yeah, that's kind of how anime works. Kids anime, I should say.
The next thing I watched was El Hazard, episodes 1 and 2.
Wait. Rem Lazard? You watched that?
El Hazard, yeah.
Oh, I thought you said Rem Lazard, the weird child abduction film that Red Letter Media reviewed once.
No, is spelled ELHAZARD.
Okay.
In the show, they pronounce it Hazard. Even though it looks like Hazard.
Interesting.
So, this is an OVA from like the mid-90s. We're basically a dude, his teacher, a dude who hates the first dude, and that dude's sister all get transported to a mystical Arabian-influenced world where war is about to break out between the human-like people and the bug people. And the first original dude has to go and do a mystic RPG-like quest in order to save the world.
Okay.
Here's the twist. First thing, it is an isekai, so put that check mark in the box.
Eh.
But 2, the second dude who hates the first dude is used inferiority complex, and he is one of the most hilarious shitbags ever. He is great.
Okay.
He basically first meets the bugs, and he goes like, you know what? I can turn you into a well-functioning army, and he just like teams up with them, and he's just like a good dude to them. Like, he's a good dude, except to the main character. So he's kind of a cool character. Second, in order to not raise suspicion amongst the general population, main character dude actually looks like the princess's sister who has recently gone missing. So all throughout this journey, he has to pretend to be the missing princess, dressed in drag, going around doing this mystic quest.
Now, is he... Now, I feel like I have to ask this because this is either anime comedy in one way or another way. Does he look like a guy and they all think he looks like the princess and he's dressed in drag? Or does he have the princess's body?
The princess is a young girl and he's like a high school boy. So it's... They look alike. They basically drew one character with short hair, one character with long hair, but they drew it in a very androgynous way so that you put makeup details and long hair, you go, oh, that looks more feminine, but you don't. It looks more masculine. So it's just like, yeah. So it's just pretty generic, and it's not even like there's no real comedy derived from, oh, he's in a dress. Ah, that's funny. It's more derived from him feeling uncomfortable. It's just like, I don't know who this princess is, and I feel uncomfortable trying to pretend to be her.
Well, that's the thing is, like, I was wondering is it drag / I'm uncomfortable comedy, or is it I have boobs, I'm gonna grab my boobs comedy?
No. It's very much, he will say something and everybody gives him a side glance and raise an eyebrow and he goes like, shit, that's not something she would say. Fuck, what am I about to do?
Excellent.
It's that kind of comedy, especially because it turns out the third member of this party going on this mystic quest is the missing princess's lesbian lover.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, that's cool. I did look through the TV tropes and everything, and it turns out that the princess is actually a shitty brat. And the lover just does whatever she wants, and they pull pranks on everybody. So it's like, oh, so she is kind of a shitty person. That's why him acting nice was seen as such a weird thing.
Interesting.
So it's all kind of fun. But looking into it, there's the OVA, there's a sequel to the OVA, and they also made a 24-episode TV series out of it. So there's a lot of El Hazard to go around.
Interesting.
I watched an episode of Street Sharks.
Hey, that is on brandage. That's what's the on task. That is very on task for you, isn't it?
Yeah. See, the first like 3 to 4 episodes all form one big movie kind of thing, and they release it on VHS. So watching one episode, it's like, yeah. So watching one episode, you get a cliffhanger. It follows these 4 brothers, and their dad's a genetic scientist, and he had this lab partner dude who goes like, hey, I just want to put genetic material in other things, see what happens. I want to make humans better. And he does it to the dad, and the dad like runs away, and he goes like, shit, he was a really good test subject. I need someone with similar DNA. And he goes, wait a second, he has sons. So he kidnaps his sons and puts shark DNA in them.
As you do.
Yeah, and they turn into a great white shark, a tiger shark, a whale shark, and a hammerhead shark.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty good. And they are Jocelyn.
Yes. Also, they have a unique insult for him. They call him a gene slammer.
Oh my god, that sounds like it should be way more rude than it is.
It's fun. It's really, they also have a lot of environmental messages that I did not remember as a kid. It's like, wow, they are really laying on this pollution thing strong.
Well, it was the 80s.
90s.
90s. Was Captain Planet 80s or 90s? He looks like he could have been
early 90s.
Okay.
Early to mid 90s. Ted Turner, lover of the planet and professional wrestling, apparently.
Blue Submarine number 6.
What?
What was it? No, it is Blue Sub 6. It's an anime about don't fuck up the environment or fish ladies are gonna rape you.
Oh, yeah. The next thing I watched was Megalobox, episodes 1 through 3.
Hey, I've seen ads for that. I want to watch that at some point.
It's a good fucking boxing thing.
Yay.
With great aesthetic. It's just like some of the best anime aesthetic in years.
Nice.
It's really cool, really like just gritty kind of. It's an anime out of time. It feels like it should be in the 90s, but it's not.
Cool.
Yeah, really good. It's really solid. The dub is what I've been watching just because, why not? I've heard it was really good. Oh yeah, really quick, back up to El Hazard. Apparently, the original creators of the anime said that the English dub is the superior one and should be seen as the definitive version of El Hazard.
Who made them drink bleach?
It's actually
No,
not bad.
I'm just kidding. That's back when dubs were good.
Dubs are still pretty good.
Just
Here's the thing: you couldn't back in those days. You could get like an A+ dub. Now, pretty much every dub is B+. Yeah, you're not going to get.
I would say the average dub is a C, and you're lucky if you get a B.
But the next thing I watched was Jushin Liger.
The wrestler?
No. See, here's the thing. His whole character is based off of an anime manga property created by Go Nagai, also the creator of Devilman.
Oh my god.
Jushin Thunder Liger is based on an anime.
What a fucking weeb.
And it's a pretty good anime. It's definitively like budget TV anime from the 80s. But it's good budget TV anime from the 80s. Basically, giant monsters start attacking, and this one dude who like has a magical birthmark of a lion on his hand, or liger, probably a liger. Hence the name.
Oh my god, I'm looking at pictures. This is amazing.
Oh, it's so fucking. It's like it's a great design. I love it. Basically turns into a giant meat robot.
It is Showa as fuck. I love it.
Yeah, and he fights the monsters, and that's all the first episode is. Also,
Nice.
his little crush dies, and that's what inspires him to beat the bad guys. Like, no, like legit, they introduce a character and they just kill her.
Oh, holy shit. Sentinel made a figure of this.
Oh shit, that's fucking probably dope.
Yep, Realbot06 Jushin Liger is $460 on Amazon. Fuck that.
God damn. But yeah, it's fun. It's cool. I'm definitely looking up
his original outfit.
Yeah, but you can definitely see like, yeah, no, he's changed the costume over time to just be like, he made it his own, but it's still definitely Jushin Liger.
Yeah,
which is really cool. It's just kind of a neat thing. It's neat finding the weird bits of history of things you like.
yeah.
The next thing
I mean, who doesn't like Jushin Thunder Liger? He is Japan's Undertaker.
Yeah. At least when he retires, he's probably gonna stay retired.
Yep. Isn't he in the process of retiring right now?
Yeah, he's going through his like year-long retirement tour. But the next thing I watched was an 80s anime. Have you been able to notice a theme?
You like anime from the time period when... hang on, I gotta put on my fedora and get my vape. You like anime from the time period when anime was good, bro.
But I watched Zillion.
Hey, I've heard of that.
Yeah, basically people on a planet are getting attacked by things, and then like magic guns are given to them and they can fight the things.
Cool.
That's pretty much the plot.
Sounds like a good Saturday afternoon.
It's a fun, it's a good just shonen action series. But a few things. Guess what the name of their elite team of fighters with magic guns are called?
The fighters with magic guns.
White Nuts.
Yeah!
They are called White Nuts.
That's my rapper name.
Also, Sega sponsored this show like heavily. Like all
Really?
Their magic guns are based on the light gun that you would use for the Master System.
That's
And
Sega made a lot of poor business decisions, but that's not one I've ever heard brought up.
They also made 2 games based off of Zillion.
Interesting.
And one of the background character things is the spaceship from Fantasy Zone.
Interesting.
No, is it Fantasy Zone? Yeah, it's Fantasy Zone. It's the side-scrolling thing with the egg-shaped spaceship.
Yeah.
It's fun. And they do some cool animation things, like when he's in a firefight with some of the enemy things, it gets really like high contrast, deep colors, and white outlines, and it's like, oh, that's really neat. And it has one of the most 80s goddamn soundtracks I have ever heard.
Excellent.
It is so good. It is just so good.
I might watch this just for the soundtrack then.
Yeah.
Because you know I love me some 80s garbage.
Oh, yeah. The next thing I watched was JoJo Golden Wind.
Is that the new season, or is that the original anime from the 80s?
That's the new season. There was no anime in the 80s.
I thought there was like an old like OVA at some point.
That was that was in the 90s.
Okay.
And the second half of the arc, because it's part 3, second half of part 3 was released in the mid 90s, and the first half of part 3 was released in like 2000.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. It's weird. No, but since Golden Wind is kind of wrapping up and it's in this last couple of episodes in terms of television airing, I thought, okay, cool. Now I don't have to fucking keep up with it week to week. I can just watch it whenever the fuck I want.
As is the smart choice with anything.
And I watched episodes 5 and 6.
Cool.
Because when it first started airing, I was like, oh, I'll watch it weekly. And I got through through episode 4, and I was like, nah, how about I not?
Hey.
It's not because I wanted to drop it. It's just because like I just don't want to keep up with it. I don't want to have to put energy into trying to keep up.
Yeah.
But basically, the story so far is Giorno Giovanna wants to join the mafia to be a good boy and stop drug trafficking. And he goes to the boss person and he goes like, hey, I want to be a gang member. And he goes like, all right, do this thing. He fails at doing the thing, and Stan shows up and tries to kill him, but he kills the Stan. And he goes back to the boss guy and he goes like, here, I did the thing. And he's like, all right, but Giorno turned a banana into a gun, or a gun into a banana. So the boss guy like takes this gun banana, puts it in his mouth, and then like the trigger appears underneath his finger, and he pulls it and he kills himself. But he had a buried treasure somewhere in Italy, but only one person knows what it is, and it just so happened to be the dude that Giorno just befriended. So now they're going on a treasure trip to go find some Italian mafia treasure. But on the way, they are ambushed on their yacht. because they rented a yacht to go find the treasure, and it's a dude who can hide in the middle of cracks and deflate things. So he deflated some people, and then a guy whose power is he can replicate time, and it sounds like a VHS player, and he does that, and he solves the mystery.
Cool.
JoJo's great.
Cool.
I've also started rewatching Yu Yu Hakusho.
Hey.
Watched episode 1, and I forgot how sad it was.
Yes.
It's good. Yu Yu Hakusho is great. It's fucking fantastic. Top notch. High quality.
Yeah, it's Yu Yu Hakusho. The Yu Yu Hakusho people know Yu Yu Hakusho, and they're the only people who need to know Yu Yu Hakusho.
Why are you talking as if he's like a weird gang member? You know who he is?
Yeah, he's my friend. You'll trust that. That's Russian Soviet. Why did I go into that? I was trying to get Italian mob boss.
The next thing I watched was Nanocore.
What the fuck? That sounds awesome.
It's a Chinese 3D anime.
Yeah.
And I barely understood what was going on. There's like this brother and sister who are like garbage diving because they're poor. There's these bunch of mooks. I think there may be a robot. The bunch of shit. Cool shit.
It's an anime-ass anime when you gotta go, I think there might be a robot. I'm not sure, but I think there was a robot in there somewhere.
Yeah. Let's see. I went to the movies and I saw Spider-Man Far From Home.
Hey, how was that? I haven't seen it yet.
It's great. It is so good. It is a great movie. I loved it.
Where does it rank in your rankings of all Spider-Man movies ever?
Okay, let's see. Raimi 2.
Is this worst to best or best
no, best
to
to
worst?
worst. Best to worst, because once I get to a certain point, I'm not going to care about it. So, best, still Raimi 2. Raimi 2 is fantastic. It's brilliant.
Okay, you're one of them.
It's a good movie. Fuck off.
I like it. I just don't think it's the best one.
And here's the thing. It all depends. Like, it's the most solid movie. Like, as a picture, like, it's an A+ movie, and it's like a A- Spider-Man movie. I think there are better Spider-Man movies, but are worse movies overall. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There are some better adaptations, but there are worse movies. And I say worse in relative distance. So Spider-Man 2, I think Far From Home, Spider-Verse, Homecoming 1, 3, Amazing.
Really? You're in the fuck all the amazing movies camp.
Yeah, it just didn't feel right. It just did not feel right for Spider-Man.
Okay.
To me. And I think people give a lot more shit to 3 than it's deserved.
See, I think that about both Free and the amazing movies.
But it's good. It is just as a longtime Spider-Man fan, it's just like fuck yeah. So great stuff.
I only have one question about that, and this might potentially be spoilery, so maybe people cover your ears for a minute. Do they do the same villain reveal? You don't know it's the villain until right before the third act shit that they did with Vulture with Mysterio. Is it that same kind of thing?
Technically, but it's Mysterio. That is his gimmick.
Okay.
But he is purposefully trying to trick him. It's not, oh, they both didn't know and now it's revealed and it's like, ooh, tense. It's more of an actual release of tension because they do a thing and it's like, all right, we win. And it's like, oh shit, you're a bad guy. What the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's Mysterio. That's his whole shtick.
Yeah. Cool.
But it's solid. It's fucking. Oh. Oh, if you don't care about spoilers, I'm not going to talk about it in the podcast, but after we're done, there's something brilliant at the end.
Yeah, I do have a couple questions. Like, people are freaking out about the end credit scene, and also I just want to know how much the Iron Man family is involved in it, because the little girl who plays Morgan was at the premiere, so I was like, well, I know Happy's in the movie, but is she in the movie?
Do you want the spoilers now or after the podcast?
Let's wait till after the podcast, because I don't want spoilers in this, because even though the movie will have been out for like almost a month by the time this comes out, there's still people who will complain when we don't properly designate it. This is the Far From Home spoiler cast.
Right. I also started watching Gundam.
Which Gundam?
OG, 1979.
I have seen the first and a half compilation movies, and then I got very bored and switched to watching something else one night.
I am just watching the straight anime.
Damn.
I am going full force into Gundam. First episode's great. The first episode's amazing.
That was my whole thing, was like, yeah, this opened really strong. I really liked it, and then it just kind of feels like a Battle of the Week show that's cut together into a movie, and that's really boring.
Yeah, and I think my way of watching it is like, oh, it's just a random episode every once in a while. You're not binging, you're just, every once in a while you pop on an episode.
Yeah, because that was meant to come on once a week and sell a toy to you every week.
So I think I'm going to benefit from watching it in this style. Same thing with the other show I watched. I watched the first episode of Macross.
Hey, that's a thing.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Before you say anything else, quick preference to this that has to come with anything you talk about Macross or Robotech. Fuck Harmony Gold.
Yeah.
Okay, continue.
Yeah. It took me a good, just a little bit of research to figure out which version of Macross I wanted to watch. And I just went, no, I'm just going to watch subtitled because I don't want to have to deal with any fucking Harmony Gold bullshit.
Yeah.
It's really good. They set up a really interesting world at play. And they go like the entire first episode before even showing that they have giant robots.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Because you know what Macross robots are. They're Transformers.
Yeah, they're Jetfire before Jetfire.
They are Jetfire. The OG Jetfire.
Mm-hmm. Until he got neutered for the cartoon and then had his design changed drastically for every subsequent appearance and possibly improved in some people's opinions because they were children when that version of Jetfire was on TV. And shut up, I'll defend the Unicron trilogy to my dying day.
Yep. But it's really dope because the entire show you're just shown, oh no, they're just jets. They just look like jets. They're just jets. And then main character dude is falling in the sky, and he just randomly got into he was supposed to go on a joy trip with his friend who's in the military on one of these fighter jets real quick, and then shit went haywire and he just got into the plane and they go like, go, and he's a pilot anyway, so he was like, okay. So he's in the air, he's falling, and someone on the comm goes like, okay, what are you doing? And he's like, I wasn't supposed to be in here, help. And she goes, all right, pull this switch. And he does, and he just starts landing, and like legs pop out, and he like lands on the legs, and he just turns into this giant robot. And it's like,
that sounds like the hypest shit that you can only ever do once in the entire history of anime.
It's so cool. It was really dope. Macross is so far really good. I don't know whether I want to put Macross or Gundam higher. They are both really good right now.
It's good to know.
Yeah, because this tends to be like the kind of like Macross or Gundam, because they
Transformers.
And last thing on the list, I watched Batman versus TMNT.
Hey, how was that? I kind of wanted to watch it because I've read parts of the comic, but also I'm not a big enough TMNT fan to go out of my way for it.
The best way I can put it is the TMNT fan service in the movie is kept to very surface level fan service.
Hmm.
The best part about it is it is a serviceable plot that makes total complete sense within the universe that they set up. And it's a lot of just like, oh man, we now have all these different elements from these two stories. Let's just put them together in some fun, interesting set pieces.
Do they adapt the scene where Batman takes Raphael to Crime Alley?
No.
What even was the point?
I think it's just inspired by the comic.
Because that scene was just the most, like, we're done with comics now, we've made the best thing we possibly can make moment I've seen in years.
Because I haven't read the comic, but basically the plot of the movie is Shredder shows up in Gotham and starts stealing technology. Batman finds him and goes like, okay, what's going on? And it turns out what is going on is Ra's al Ghul and Shredder have a deal. Shredder's going to get the technology and build a device to spread mutagen and Joker venom across the Gotham populace to make them destroy the city. And Ra's al Ghul is going to give the Shredder a Lazarus pit. So they have this deal going on. So the Turtles and Batman are trying to figure this whole thing out.
What does Shredder want a Lazarus pit for?
To be immortal?
Okay, I figured that concern would come after you take over the world, but...
Yeah, but if he's immortal, he can just do whatever, so...
That's fair.
So they're trying to figure this whole thing out, and the really cool set piece of the whole movie is Ra's al Ghul and Shredder go to Arkham to get the Joker formula.
Yeah.
And the deal with the Joker is they get the formula, he gets a canister of ooze.
What does he do with the ooze?
He spreads it to all the Arkham inmates.
So the Penguin becomes an actual penguin.
Oh, Penguin's not there.
Oh, gay.
Who is there is Mr. Freeze, Scarecrow, Harley Quinn, and Two-Face, and Bane. So they all get mutated. So Mr. Freeze turns into a polar bear.
Yep.
Harley Quinn into a hyena.
Okay.
Poison Ivy is there, and she turns into a plant lady.
All right.
A Venus flytrap plant lady.
I would prefer like a big anaconda or some shit. Like make her Scarlett Johansson from the Jungle Book.
Who else was there? Oh, Scarecrow turned into a crow. Duh. And Two-Face turned into a Janus cat.
Oh, that's a
yeah. So it's a really cool like you know what a Janus cat looks like.
Yeah.
They have the 3 eyes and 2 cat faces. He turns into one of those. No, that's really dope. And the Joker turns into a cobra.
All right.
So they have a bunch of cool fight scenes. The Bat family, which is for this movie, the really cool Barbara Gordon Batgirl costume where she has the leather jacket and the boots.
Yeah, I saw that they're making figures specifically of those versions of the characters, and I saw that it was that Batgirl, and I was just like, yes, they used the best Batgirl design.
Damian Wayne and Bruce. Mm-hmm. So that's the Bat family. You have the Turtles. They do the whole fight, and there's a bunch of cool moments like Donatello and Barbara are fighting Bane, and Bane gets Donatello up in his arms, and he goes like, you don't know who you're dealing with. I'm the man who broke the bat, and he grabs Donatello and is about to slam him on his knee like in Nightfall. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. Donatello's a turtle. So Bane breaks his knee. He's just clutching his knee, and then Barbara beats him with a dumbbell.
Honestly, that's what Bane deserves for clinging to that one bit of fame he had once in the 90s all these years. Get a new story, you shit.
Scarecrow hit Leonardo with some fear gas, and he saw his brothers die.
That's what you do with Leonardo. You make him... You rack him with guilt over having to take care of all of his brothers.
And they just had a bunch of cool fights. It was really well choreographed. it's a dumb popcorn movie, but they made some of the best goddamn popcorn.
Would you say the animation is at or above the level of the DC direct-to-DVD movies?
It is a DC direct-to-movie DVD.
Oh, I didn't know if that was them or like they farmed it out to another company.
No. It was a collaboration between WB and Nickelodeon.
Cool.
There's also just some fun moments. Like Baxter Stockman has a really good design. He's the fly scientist boy.
Yeah, I love Baxter Stockman.
He had some great lines because they didn't know what. Like he was talking to Shredder and it's like, as your loyal companion or hostage, I'm not quite sure which one I am still. And there was a moment later on where science
is he a fly the whole time, or do we get to see him here?
No, he's a fly the whole time.
Okay, because I was going to ask if it was Black Baxter Stockman.
He had an afro, so I assume so.
Good, because fucking my biggest exposure to TMNT is the 2012 animated Nickelodeon show, and he was a black guy in that. So to me, it's black guy Baxter Stockman, who the Turtles always get his name wrong or nothing.
He was black in the original comics, in the black and white ones.
Yeah.
It's only the 80s one that turns him into a white dude.
Yeah.
But he's really cool. There was also a moment later on where someone goes like, "Yeah, we don't get paid," and he goes like, "I don't get paid either. I guess that's a mark in the hostage column." Like he's just very nonchalant about doing all this evil scientist stuff. It's just great. Alfred also gets a lot of interaction with Michelangelo, who's just skateboarding across Wayne Manor and ordering pizza on the Wayne's dime. And Alfred is just picking up the pizza and goes like, "I could have cooked them a gourmet meal, and they just want pizza." Mm-hmm. Teenagers. Also, there was I
imagine, like, after all the Robins that Bruce has raised, I imagine Alfred probably makes a damn good pizza at this point.
Yeah. But there's also like this is a bunch of fun moments. It's less oh man, how are they gonna get out of this? It's just more like, hey, this is fun. Yeah. Like Batman goes like, "Who are you?" And like each of the turtles just separately goes teenage, mutant, ninja, turtles. And it's like, yeah, it's great. It's a good movie.
Very plain. I'll have to check that out at some point.
That's all I watched.
All right. Well, I watched more Kamen Rider Build, and holy crap, is this show popping off at this point?
Are they building to the climax?
They are building something, all right. I mean, like, I'm gonna give a bit of a serious analysis boy take here, because I had a whole epiphany about this show while I was out for my run yesterday. That Build is basically to Heisei era Kamen Rider what Kuga was to Showa. It's taking like, this is what Rider has been up to this point, and there's going to be some changes coming in the near future. So let's do a thing that's very much commenting on and taking that as seriously as we possibly can. I mean, to basically sum it up, there's a key plot point that has happened, and it is a bit of a spoiler, so warning for people who haven't seen Build. So you know how death is kind of trivialized by Toku? It's just every week we rider kick the monster and they explode and they're dead and that's it, it's over. Or it's a show like Amazon's where we're reveling in the gore of killing someone.
Yeah.
And it's kind of gotten to the point where like X-Aid made basically a meta joke out of it, with characters constantly dying and coming back. I mean, all I have to say is Dan Kuroto's Continue Pipe, and you know what I'm talking about with that. And that was completely born out of the fact that the last couple shows leading up to that had big dramatic death moments for characters. And then those characters would come back either later in the series, right at the end of the series, or in a side movie special thing. Whereas early Heisei, did have a lot of character death, and character death was something that stuck, even though it could be a bit over dramatic at times. This show has been very smart and very subtle about building up this thing of like, the monsters do not explode and die when they get Rider kicked. They're just disabled, and then Bill pulls out a little bottle and he sucks up the monster essence so he can make himself a new upgrade. And then the person that the monster was is fine. They go off to jail. Or occasionally the experimentation that turned them into the monster was too aggressive, and now they're going to fade away into nothingness, but it's not really Bill's fault. It's something the villains did. Or they've lost their memory. I talked about last time how Grease has now shown up, and he's got his like free buddies who are a homage to Akamizer, I think. And they don't have rider forms, but they're able to transform into monsters and keep their personalities. And so in the first couple episodes I watched, because this week I watched episodes 21 through 30. In the first couple episodes I watched after we recorded the last podcast, Bloodstock, the big bad, is like, hey, you guys are having some trouble against Bill's new upgraded form, Hazard, which is his uncontrollable, I'm superpowered, I'm just going to attack everything I see mid-season upgrade form. How about we fix that? I give you another dose of the experimentation, and it's going to make you more powerful, but also secretly, and I'm only going to tell Grease this, if you guys get beaten, well, you're these new Hazard smashes, which is the names of the monster are smashes, which Japan. If you get beaten while you're these things, you die. You don't just demorph like you used to. You're gonna die if you get beaten while you're these things, because drama. And then the very next episode, Build is trying to keep a handle on things. He's like, I'm not going to transform into Hazard anymore unless I absolutely have to. That thing's dangerous. But also, Cross Z is having trouble controlling his new form, and he's like starting to like get himself kind of like, it's not like I can't control myself kind of uncontrollable. It's this hurts me to do if I do it for too long kind of uncontrollable. Whereas Builds is just at a certain point switch flips, and now I'm just going berserk attacking everything in front of me. So Build is like, well, in order to stop him, I have to transform into Hazard. So he does that, and he goes to try and save Cross Z, but then he loses control almost right away and kills one of Grease's buddies. And it is treated with the proper gravitas a character death should be in a show. It's very much, the show is trying to send this message of, we have trivialized death for a while now in Rider, and we really shouldn't do that in a kid's show, because when someone dies, it's a big deal. When you kill a person, that can fuck you up, because immediately Build is able to power down, and he's just like, what the fuck just happened? What did I do? What did I do? And Cross Z is looking at him like, dude, get the fuck away from me. We're friends, but you just did a fucked up thing. Get away from me. And the other Grease, like, backup dancer monster guys are just screaming fuck you at him. They're like, you're an asshole. We're going to kill you for this. You're going to pay. And Grease, because he's been like this very serious, I'm all about the passion of battle kind of a guy, he's like, I'm not mad. This is war. We should have expected this. Not everybody's going to make it out of this alive. I'm sad that my friend is dead now. I will kick your ass the next time I see you, but I'm not going to get mad like my friends are. Also, friends, calm the fuck down. We're leaving now. This fight is over. And the very next episode, Build is just depressed as fuck and like mourning. And there's a scene towards the middle where he goes back to the spot where he killed the guy. Like it's assumed that it's been a couple weeks since the last episode, and it's like the anniversary of the guy's death now. And he's like leaving flowers, and like doing the Japanese I'm praying for you to be all right pose, but he can't hold it. He's like shaking and like in tears, and he can't even get out the words, I'm sorry, please forgive me. And fucking Grease comes up behind him also to pay his respects, and he just turns and like grabs onto Grease and is like, I'm sorry, please beat the shit out of me. I don't deserve to be alive for what I did. And he's like, no, I came to pay my respects to my friend. I'm not gonna beat you up here. That wouldn't be respectful to his memory. We need to find another place. But coincidentally, my government sent me a message today because we haven't attacked you for a little while. We want to just do a proxy battle now. We want to do the most anime kid show thing ever. And instead of continuing this war, we're going to have a proxy battle with you and me. And whoever wins, whoever gets demorphed first, that country just automatically wins the war. Meet me at this place at this time. And Build is like, I can't fucking do that. I'm still fucked up over killing this guy. And he has to get his mojo back and get a new upgrade. And when he goes and does the actual proxy battle, you're thinking like, oh man, they just did this really serious, cool thing, and I was really impressed, and now they're going back to dumb Kamen Rider kid shit. And then immediately, while the battle's going on, there's a scene of Bloodstock talking to the Prime Minister of Greece's country, and he's like, you're not seriously doing this, right? And she's like, of course not, dude. I'm sending literally every soldier I have right now to the border. If we lose, I'm just gonna annihilate their entire fucking country. I don't care. And it's like, oh shit, they totally pulled a fast one on me. They're still in keeping with the, no, if this stuff happened in real life, these people would be ruthless fucking assholes. Like, this is war is fucking hell, and we're gonna do a show about that to close out the Heisei era, which started out very serious, then got kind of angsty and weird, and then got very kid-oriented. And now that it's over, we're doing kind of the way I kind of view it now is Build is the Infinity War of the Heisei era. It's like we are taking a serious look back while we're also telling our own story, and we're trying to get some very clear points across here. And then Geo looks to be like the end game of the Heisei era, where it's look at all this cool shit we did, and also here's some other characters. So yeah, I'm really enjoying Build. I would highly recommend it, especially if you're one of the people who has gotten really frustrated with recent writer for stuff like I don't like all the idols and whatnot, and fucking there's too many toys in the first 10 episodes. Like, this Build is doing a lot of stuff to kind of be like, what's the best possible way we could do these things in a realistic way that makes sense for a serious story that's about selling children's toys.
I got it. I'm doing the OP go watch an episode when it shows up on the playlist thing for Build, so.
Cool. Well, I look forward to hearing your thoughts on it. Also watched a couple other things this week. Randomly, just because I realized almost all the Naruto movies are on Netflix, I threw them all in my list, because talking about Bleach the other week got me in like a nostalgic early 2000s anime mood, and like the most early 2000s anime I have familiarity with is Naruto. I was a Naruto kid. So I was like, I'll watch all the movies. And also they've got like the first, I think, up to the tuning exams on Netflix. So I'm probably going to watch that at some point. But I watched the second movie, which is Naruto the Movie 2, Legend of the Stone of Gel-El, which is okay. It's not a particularly impressive story. It very much does feel like just a side story. We have to get a movie out this year thing, but it's passable. I wouldn't say, like, if you haven't seen Naruto before, go and seek this. I wouldn't even say if you're, like, a Naruto fan, go and seek this out. This is, like, what you watch when you've watched and read literally everything else and you just want more Naruto because you can't get enough of it. But it was fine. Also watched the first episode of another Netflix thing called The Story of God with Morgan Freeman, which I watched because I was really curious just to see what it was like, is this like an adaptation of the Christian Bible narrated by Morgan Freeman? Is this like some kind of documentary or something? And it's more kind of like a documentary thing of like Morgan Freeman going around the world talking to various people from various religions about certain aspects of their faith. Like the whole first episode is about death. Like, what does this religion believe happens when you die? Sort of a thing. And honestly, it's not that interesting unless you just don't know a whole lot about foreign religions. Like for someone like me, like before I became an atheist, I did a lot of research into other religions, trying to figure out like, okay, am I just not into Christianity, or do I think religion as a whole is bullshit? And turns out I think religion as a whole is bullshit. So I knew a lot of the stuff that was talked about in this episode, and honestly, the most entertaining thing for me was just watching Morgan Freeman's reactions, because he can literally, from scene to scene, go from really interested and kind of digging what the person is saying to trying desperately to understand what they're saying to not giving a fuck at all, and that's pretty funny. But yeah, I don't think I'm gonna watch any more of it. If you're big into religion though, and you like Morgan Freeman, I would recommend it though. And that's about all I can say for it. And I did the hashtag current normie thing and watched all of Stranger Things season 3. Oh God, was this a dumpster fire? I was severely disappointed in this season. And this is coming from somebody who not only liked season 2, but thinks everyone is crazy for constantly poo-pooing that one episode about Elle going to another city. I do not know what they were thinking with this season. It feels like everything that that critics don't like about the first 2 seasons was just cranked up to, pun not intended, but unavoidable 11. Like the 80s references in the first season feel more incidental. They feel like this is a story set in the 80s, so 80s things will come up from time to time, and we're also going to, when we have to do one, we will try and build the story around it. Like there's that whole thing about should I stay or should I go in the first season. There's nothing like that in this season. It's literally just a lot of this season takes place in the town's new mall, so we are going to shove as much shit at you as we possibly can constantly. Like there's some ridiculous 80s fashion in this, which I'm not even sure if stuff people actually wore, or it's just stuff we remember as the 80s because it was in media. There's like a whole thing about Back to the Future, the first one in this. They're constantly just playing 80s songs for no reason. Like there's a whole shopping montage with Max and Elle set to Material Girl, which I was just banging my head against the wall during. She gets a cool outfit at the end of it, but that's about the only good thing in this entire fucking season. There's a ton of bullshit relationship drama. Like the whole reason that shopping montage happens is because Elle and Mike break up briefly, and it's really contrived and annoying. Even though it seemed like Hopper and I can't remember her name. Joyce. Hopper and Joyce were going to get together at the end of season 2. They're just not in this season, but they hang out as friends sometimes, and towards the end of the season, there's a big to-do made out of like, oh, will you two just kiss already? And it's like, yeah, they should have kissed already. Like, maybe 10 fucking episodes ago. What is going on? And, spoiler alert, Hopper, quote-unquote, dies at the end of this season, but then they immediately, at the end of the final episode, do a post-credit scene. Why are there post-credit scenes in this show now? I don't know, but where they hint that Hopper is probably alive and in a Russian prison because, oh, hey, guess what? The plot to this season is there's Russians in a secret base underneath the town's new mall trying to reopen the rift because Cold War. And also, like, they're just... It was really annoying because it felt like all the stuff they were potentially setting up for season 3 they just ignored here. Like it really felt like they only had 2 seasons planned out and they were planning to just end it after season 2. But then Netflix said this is making too much money. We will continue this with or without you guys. And so the Duffers just said, all right, I guess we'll just pull something out of our ass because we don't want somebody else pulling something out of their ass for our show. And fucking, I don't know, there's one good scene in this entire show, and it is where they use a Weird Al song to introduce the teacher, the science teacher from the first 2 seasons. He's only got one scene in this entire season where he's telling Joyce about how magnets work. But it's really brilliant how they introduce him because Joyce is trying to figure out why magnets aren't working because that's how she gets introduced to the plot of this season. And she goes to his house for help and she's like knocking on the door like, where is he? And you're hearing this song slowly come in. And then it just slams cut to inside his garage and he's blasting My Bologna by Weird Al while building model trains, and he's got like protective eye gear on, and he's welding something onto one of them, and it's like, yes, that is exactly how you introduce this character if you're doing a season where everyone's on summer break. But other than that, really did not like this season. Not sure if I'm going to watch season 4 when it happens after this. Just kind of shocked that it went from a overall pretty good show to a really bad. And I'm even more shocked that nobody else seems to agree with me. Like everybody I've talked to loves this season and is like, "Oh yeah, it's the best one yet." And I'm like, "What were you smoking?"
Yeah, my friend said it's really good. So maybe you're just picking it weird. Maybe you didn't sit right in your viewing stomach.
Possibly, but like,
because here's the thing: you were complaining about Material Girl, and that's like, no, that's the perfect song for a montage.
Yeah, but I was also just annoyed in the plot line that was going on there in general because, like, okay, the way season 2 ends, it feels like all the couples are together now and everybody's going to be relatively happy going into season 2. And then season 3 opens, and Hopper is a grumpy dad who's not dating Joyce yet, but is still trying to get into her pants. And Elle and Mike are happy, but he does a thing to scare Mike off, and that makes Elle pissed at Mike. And apparently Lucas and Max have broken up and gotten back together like 4 times already. And there's a huge thing that comes out of Elle being upset at Mike, of like the boys all discussing how women are irrational because they have feelings and you don't understand, they're just a totally another species, because this is how boys talked about women in the 80s. And fucking, like, the only couple that actually seems to be happy during this season is Jonathan and Nancy, but even then they're constantly bickering over the fact that Nancy is trying to get a better position at work because they're both working at a local paper now. But Nancy's just an errand girl because all of the reporters there are a bunch of sexist 40-year-old guys in the 80s. And like, I couldn't tell if I liked how they were doing it or if it felt really shoehorned in because feminism is a thing that's very popular right now. Like it was, I didn't dislike it, but I couldn't tell if I thought it was being done well. So it was just like I wasn't expecting any relationship. Like the advertising did not put any of this shit in there, so I wasn't expecting any relationship drama. And there was a ton of relationship drama, and it felt really, really contrived.
Yeah.
But that's my rant for the evening. Chris, what did you read this week?
I've just been reading Zach Bell.
Remind me what that is.
Manga. A genius dude gets sent by his dad a little demon boy who has a book with him, and if he reads a spell from the book, the demon boy shoots lightning. And it turns out that the demon boy is in a tournament to find the new king of the demon world.
Oh.
There's 100 of them, and he has no memory of the demon world. Every other demon's going like, Zach, you're weak. I'm going to beat you up. And they're trying to figure out what to do.
Nice.
I'm on like chapter 173.
Damn.
And they've done a bunch of shit. They fought a bunch of demons from the past game who were trapped in stone for 1,000 years. So they fought them. A lot of them were cool. They made a bunch of friends because they were like, hey, why not, because we're all nice dudes and we all generally think, hey, maybe these games shouldn't happen and put kids in this dangerous situation. So let's make a good, nice king so this never happens again. And they were like, all right. And they're all like, all right, we're all friends. We all trust each other. We're all cool dudes. So if we all work together, one of us is going to be a good king. So that's better. And so it's like, yeah. And one of them's a pony. He's named Ponygon.
Nice.
His book dude is called Sunbeam. This is a very good, just like good shonen gag action comic manga. Like there's a lot of gags, but when it gets into serious action, it stays in serious action mode. It doesn't try to whiplash. It's just like, no, there can be battles that are funny. There are battles that are intense. It's nice and interesting.
That's good.
Yeah. That's about it.
Okay, I was going to say anything else, but okay, I
read 173 chapters. Come on, man.
You read that much this week. I thought you just said that's how far I've gotten, and you were like 50 or 70 chapters in already.
No. I am on volume 19, chapter 173.
Excellent.
Of this 300 chapter manga.
Excellent. I went to their shop where they sell comics this week, and I picked up a bunch of random Supergirl singles for my Supergirl collection, and just kind of blew through them in an afternoon. Mostly post-crisis, pre-52 stuff. Couple from the Joe Kelly run, couple from the Sterling Gates run. Stuff I've read before in trade, so not really a whole lot to say about it, except just my usual. The Joe Kelly run is really iffy, but read it if you must. The Sterling Gates run is pretty good, but it's very mired in events that were going on at the time, but that's also kind of a given for most good Supergirl runs. And then also randomly I discovered a 5-issue mini called Amicom Girls featuring Supergirl, which apparently was a tie-in to a line of statues DC was doing at the time that led into a full Amicom Girls series, kind of in the same vein of the DC Bombshells thing, but instead of being like a cool 40s art throwback thing, it's what if all the women in the DC universe were big titty anime girls? Yeah. So that I read the last issue of that because there weren't any more at my store. Now that I know now that I know that exists, I will have to track down the other four at some point. But it's not exactly at the top of my priorities because it's a weird ass continuity where like Brainiac is a girl and she's like a tentacle hentai monster, kind of, sorta, and she's working with the Gotham City Sirens, but Harley Quinn is there, but instead of the Joker, she's obsessed with Dwella Dent, who claims that who in main continuity is a girl who thought she was the Joker's daughter, but wasn't. Dwella Dent is a weird offshoot thing that not a lot of people know about or understand, including myself. And also, Power Girl is there, and she, in this continuity, was the daughter of Jor-El and Lara instead of Superman being the son, and he was sent to Krypton, and it's the whole thing where Supergirl was sent to look after her, but she got there late, and that's why Power Girl now looks like an older Supergirl. And it's weird. It's real damn weird, and because it was the last issue that was also setting up stuff for another series, I did not really get it at all, but I was just excited is the exact wrong word, but I was kind of like, it's insane to realize that this exists and I didn't know about it till now, because this sounds like the kind of thing that the internet would joke about constantly. And then I read the next book in the Hallow series, got back to that, For a Few Demons More, which is kind of the big tie-up to everything that's happened in the books so far. There's like another 5 or 6 books after this, but this is like all the story I've been doing up to this point, I'm going to wrap it up here, and then I'm going to start doing some other stuff, kind of a book. And there's some very good payoff in this. I don't usually laugh at like full-on novels and stuff. Like there's jokes that I'll go like, oh, that's funny, but I never actually laugh at books. There's a hilarious scene in this where she goes to arrest like the person who's been one of the arch villains of the series up till this point, and she does it at his wedding, and like all the important side characters from the series up to that point are in attendance, and it's like constantly going back and forth between what she's doing while she's arresting him and everybody's reactions to it, and it is the funniest shit in the world. So that was great. What was not so great is I read Ant-Man Astonishing Origins, which is a reprint of Ant-Man Season 1 that they put out during the hype build-up, quote-unquote, for the first Ant-Man movie. Do you remember anything about the Season 1 line, Chris?
The what?
Marvel Season 1 line. Have you ever even heard of that?
No.
It was their answer to DC's Earth One's thing, in kind of the same way that DC did... Oh god, I'm forgetting it now. DC did some stupid bullshit that nobody remembers from the 2000s as an answer to Marvel's Ultimate line. And this was Marvel doing that to them for Earth One. But instead of it being like these really high quality, like big name writer and artist team, it only one volume comes out every couple of years because it's meant to be like a movie kind of thing. They just pumped them all out in the space of like 5 months and then forgot the line existed. And I'd never read any of them because people always told me they were mediocre to okay. But because I've kind of like started casually collecting Ant-Man stuff, I picked up this because it was on sale for like $10 at a bookstore, and it is deeply mediocre. Like, it really feels like just a first draft of the actual Ant-Man movie, but with Hank Pym as the main character instead of Scott Lang, and it just does not work that well. It's like it's not outright bad, but it's like it's also one of those things that I would not recommend, and I probably won't remember in a couple months. So, but Chris, did you play anything this week?
I played some Elite Beat Agents.
Nice.
It's a rhythm game from the DS. Basically, you play as a couple secret agents, and you go around cheering people up with the power of dance.
Was this developed by a very Japanese company by any chance?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's also based on a very Japanese game.
Ah.
See, the original game is called Oendon, based off of Japanese male cheerleaders.
Okay.
You know, with the big coats and the flags and the fans and everything.
Oh, okay.
The very shouty men.
Yes.
Those kind of people. It's based off of that.
Okay.
But it was very Japanese with Japanese music, and Nintendo went like, "Hey, you know what? This could work as an American game because it was being imported by Americans." And so they were like, "Oh, we can do an American version of that." And they were trying to figure it out, and they went, "No, it's a good comparison. Let's make the Men in Black." And so they did this whole thing of like, okay, so if Oendon is like high energy, red-blooded action, like from your gut, what's the American version of that? Oh no, it's cool. They're slick. It's like, yeah.
Nice.
Finger snaps. They also saved the human race from an alien invasion with the power of dance.
Yep.
It's a fun game. It's really good.
Wait, isn't that the plot to Kamen Rider Gaim?
I mean, if you want to be very, very, very slightly technical, in the same way that saying you are the same thing as stars because you are made of atoms.
Yep.
Been playing more Citus, that phone rhythm game. It's fun. Cyberpunk. You play as a robot. It's dope.
Very good.
I've been doing too much other stuff to really play many games and do all that kind of jazz. And like a bunch of like phone idle games I've been playing too, like Lego Tower, just because it's a distraction.
Yeah. Well, I finally got back into video games this week after about a 2-year drought. Said fuck it. I made a chat in my Discord server. Give me money on Patreon so you can get into my Discord server. And then I dilly-dallied for a couple weeks, and then finally I got back into my Steam account, and I finally downloaded and started playing Transformers War for Cybertron, which is something that I wanted to play very badly back when it first came out, but I didn't have an Xbox or a PS3. I got to play like 10 minutes of it at one of the bot cons they did. It's the last bot con they did in Orlando. But they never did another one in Orlando again. They kind of stayed over in LA area, and then BotCon stopped happening. But I got to play 10 minutes of it there, and I was like, yeah, this game's really cool. I want to play it. And then just never picked it up until about 3 years ago when I bought it for cheap in a Steam sale. But I also bought Star Wars Battlefront 2, the original, in that Steam sale. And I had just made a Steam account to like buy some stuff from that sale. So all I played on Steam for the longest time was Star Wars Battlefront 2. I never touched War for Cybertron until just last night when I finally was like, I said I want to get back into video games. What ones do I already have purchased on Steam? I've played enough Battlefront 2. I don't really feel like trying Portal yet, even though I know it's a great classic. Let's do some more for Cybertron. And I played for the first level of the Decepticon campaign, and oh boy, is it a good old shoot 'em up. It is a fun time. Especially if you're a Transformers nerd. Unless you're one of those people who's like, this is supposed to be a prequel to Prime, but they're not acting the way they do in Prime. Hey, guess what, dummy? This is a prequel to G1. The prequel to Prime is the novels.
The games are part of the aligned continuity.
I seem to remember at the time they said like the novels are in the aligned continuity. This game is a prequel to G1 until Fall of Cybertron came out, and because it had the Dinobots and Bruticus in it, they said the games are now their own continuity. Except
I am sure that it's part of aligned continuity.
Well, now I'm questioning myself. Let's at Chris McFeely and ask him how it works.
TF Wiki, Aligned Continuity Family. Continuities. Hall of Fame profiles, War for Cybertron, Rise of the Darkspock, and Fall of Cybertron video games, comic books, novels, generations.
Okay.
Created by High Moon Studios under game director Matt Tiger with the tie-in games by Next Level Games and Vicarious Visions. War for Cybertron's aesthetics and characteristics are heavily based on G1. Set in the ancient days of Cybertron War, game's plot focuses on Megatron's quest to harness Dark Energon. Those events overlap a large portion of the simultaneous release Exodus novel, but they differ in many details. But yeah, it seems to be intended to be part of the aligned continuity.
Okay.
But then again, so is Rescue Bots.
The aligned continuity, it all lines up if you squint from 3 miles away. But yeah, War for Cybertron.
There's a whole section based on clashing visions.
Oh my lord. But yeah, War for Cybertron was very good. I'm looking forward to playing the rest of it. The only thing I didn't really like was controls were a bit confusing at the start, mainly because half of the controls are the same as they are in the Armada game, which I'm really familiar with. I played the shit out of the Armada game as a kid. But the other half are like in weird different places that I didn't expect, and it took me like half the level to get used to them. Like, I think transforming was like one of the regular buttons on the opposite side of the D-pad in Armada. Here, it's you push down on the, because I'm using an Xbox controller, the upper left thumbstick, which was a bit odd, but I eventually got used to it. I think it's because that's the same thumbstick you use to walk around. But yeah, War for Cybertron, it's very good. Most people already know that, but hey, you get to things when you get to them, kids, and I just got to it. So, who wants to play some Team Deathmatch? Oh yeah, that's right, this game is almost a decade old, so nobody's on the servers anymore. Okay, I'll just go back to the main campaign. And is that it? Are we done?
Are we? Are we done?
I think so. So, hey, Chris, why don't you tell people who you are and where they can find your things?
I'm Chris Boingo Writer Gaston. I make video editorials. You can find me on YouTube at Boingo Writer. You can find me on Twitter at Boingo_Writer. You can find me on the Instagram, Boingo_Writer. You can follow me. You can join my Discord server. The link to that is in the description.
Cool. I am Simeon the Vacuuminator Scott. I'm a YouTube boy. I make YouTube things, not about YouTube, but about stuff. You can find me at youtube.com/c/thevacuuminator. We are currently in reruns mode because I used to have a whole bunch of channels. I'm now consolidating everything down into the main channel and just re-uploading the videos from the other channels that are actually good and worth keeping. And that'll probably be going till the end of August. But hey, check out some cool old shit I made. If you want to keep up with me and what I'm doing, you can follow me on the social media, Twitter at The Vacuuminator, Instagram at The Vacuuminator. And yeah, this podcast, it's made by Modular Media, Chris, help.
A creative collective cooperative.
Cool. And that's a YouTube channel that you're probably watching right now. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. You can listen to the show on the go if you like by going to the Google Drive folder in the description and downloading an MP3 file. And if you want to keep up with the show and when it's coming out, follow us on Twitter at the Modular Media and subscribe to our subreddit, which is r/Modular Media. And we will see you next time on Analytical Fanboys when we will be discussing Bakuman Season 2.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. I've already seen it because before we started doing the what we've been up to segment, my brain completely crapped out for a second there. Before we started doing that segment, I said, well, it'll probably take us forever to get to this, and I actually really liked it, so I went and watched the whole show. So, probably just rewatch bits and pieces this time. Maybe I'll check out, is there a dub? I might watch the dub this time.
No. They only dubbed the first 7 episodes.
Well, that sucks. Well, alright. I'll see you in a week to talk about more of them vacuumans, Chris.
Right.
Are you like firing a fake gun or snapping your fingers?
Snapping fingers.
Wait.